Good morning. It's Saturday, October 18th, 2025. My name is Terry Morgan, and we are here to talk about martial arts philosophy. We're going to practice a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the idea of perspective and how what we know, what we have learned, what we have developed in understanding, any experience that has given us some reference point, that is part of what we use when we're looking at something. That perspective changes over time, it changes with experience. And that is one of the key elements in understanding what we're doing in practice, being able to clearly see what are you doing over here? I have Italian noodles. Do I have the Chinese noodles? Right? I got some Japanese. No, I got Thai noodles over here. Yeah, right. Being able to clearly see and distinguish. No, that's Italian noodles. That's not Chinese noodles. That ability comes from, in part, our experience, knowing that there's a difference. My bags of rice, that experience, it was actually, I did that. I went into a shed and there were bags of rice sitting around and they were all different kinds of rice. And this is, there's so many different kinds of rice. What I didn't know that. I do now. I learned it. That changed my perspective. That changed the way that I view so many other things. Because I looked at it and I said, well, if uh, I didn't know about that, there's a whole bunch of other things I probably didn't know about. That openness, that I know a few things, but I don't know everything. There's lots of stuff I don't know. That openness gives me the ability to learn more. It improves my perspective. So instead of here, it's out here. That gives me a greater understanding of what I'm doing in practice. The more I understand what I'm doing in practice, the better I can get at it. If I don't understand basic human physiology, how we move, how the lungs and the circulatory system function, if I didn't understand that, I, I really don't know how I would be doing some of the things that I do. It's a fundamental level of knowledge, it's a fundamental level of understanding in all of what we do. There are internal fundamentals. We practiced in Qigong this idea of the small heavenly circle from the lower dantian down around to the renjong and returning to the lower dantian. The first part of that circle is the dumai, the renmai that comes down the front. Those two channels connect at the renmai just below. It's an acupuncture point that sits just below the nose and behind the teeth in the upper palate. So if you stick your finger in your mouth and push right above where your teeth are, that's what we're talking about. That connection, we preserve that connection by sticking the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Tip of the tongue goes right there. That's where it sits when we're practicing. For me, I can't always do that because I'm talking, but that's the idea, that we connect those two channels. and that we use that connection to further develop our skills in practice. If I was not open to the idea that that might exist, that there's this traditional Chinese medicine thing that it was around for what, 5,000 years, something like that. If I wasn't open to the idea that, well, there's whatever else there may be, there's some value there. Maybe there's a lot of hacks and quacks. There's a lot of hacks and quacks in Western medicine too. I got some snake oil for you. I do. Cures everything. No. All right. So that idea that there is value, and we have to discern what that value is. We have to figure out, is this something that is worthwhile? Is this not? Basic anatomy and physiology is worthwhile. Okay? That's the building blocks. Beyond that, we want to pay attention to what we're doing internally. That goes for whether you're practicing an external art, whether you're practicing an internal art. Internal arts require more. They do. But that sense of purpose, that sense of what am I doing in my practice, right? I need to do a couple physical things, so I need to warm up a little bit. All right, bend the knees, wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers, pull up through the crown of the head, hands circle to the front, back around to both sides, up along the center line, and reach out. Bend the knees as you go over. Roll up. Keep the circles smooth. And yes, I am going a little faster right now. Keep it smooth. Keep it even. Fingertips reach up. Elbows drop down. Wrists, hands return to your sides. All right, that idea of what are we doing in practice, right? Horse stance. Stay there. This is something that is, yes, I am. TikTok. You can join me. You're welcome to join me. Horse stance. I'm about halfway between, so about 45 to the floor. Keep your body upright and pay attention to your core right through here. All right, this practice, horse stance, is something that people who practice external arts do. You practice, I don't care what system you practice, you're going to learn horse stance. Internal arts, well, yes, we do, because this is a strengthening exercise. It is a placement exercise, and it gives us the foundation for what we're going to be doing. Okay? Now, if you've noticed, you may not have noticed, it's kind of subtle. I changed my weight. I went lower. My legs are getting tired. Yeah. All right. And I adjusted the way that I'm supporting my body so that my legs are doing less work. That change in placement is what we're looking for. All right. And straighten. That is part of what we're looking for. Now, being able to do 5 minutes. I can't do that right now. I can work up to it, but I can't do 5 minutes in a horse stance right now. I used to be able to do 10, 20 minutes in a horse stance. I practiced. That idea, I talk about that all the time, that we develop our skill, not just, okay, now I can do this. We develop our skills so that we can continue to develop them. if I don't know what a horse stance is, if I've never done this, I'm not going to be able to do that. If I don't know what this position is, and I'm reasonably solid, and I'm fairly certain that can be seen. I'm double weighted. My weight is centered through my body. That's something that we tend to not want to do so much, particularly not in Tai Chi, because we can't move out of it as readily as we can if we're 45, 55. Horse stance says no, should be 50-50. We want that. We use some of that strength, horse stance, right, in cloud hands. My legs are working at the same level that they, pretty much the same level. I'm about 45 degrees. And my stance is open. I'm pretty much at the same foot position as I was. For that horse stance. I hit the mark pretty well. Practice. Knowing what that means. Now, and we're going to work on cloud hands again in a minute. Knowing what that means. Where's my mark? It's here. If I'm working with any system, how I move, the way that I move, the placement, all of those things contribute to my perspective on what it is I'm doing. If I don't have a sense of distinction, if I don't distinguish, this is a horse stance, it's still a horse stance. Yes, it's still a horse stance. That recognition, I'm using it differently, but still a horse stance. That recognition of distinction and similarity. In this case, I'm standing 50-50. In this case, I don't want to be 50-50. Matters in everything that we do. It's not, this one has to be this way, this one. Sometimes it does. Let me start that one over. When I was first learning, I started with Yang Style Tai Chi. And I learned an opening, right? Excuse me. Here, there's two. This one is the first one that I learned. Second one that I learned. Still going to salute. Which one's correct? When I very first started learning, I would have taken points off of the second one. That's not right. That's not the way we do it. That's not what we're practicing. That's not right. Yeah, really? No. I thought that way. I did. I had a very narrow perspective. I hadn't seen that much. Most of what I had learned, most of what I had experienced, had come from a very, very small, very, very small group of folks who had some understanding of some things, give or take, but didn't have much of in this big perspective in the wide world of things. Yeah, not so much. Very small. So when I stepped out of that small world and started looking at the bigger world, my perspective changed. What I was doing was no longer necessarily correct. What somebody else was doing wasn't necessarily correct either, but it wasn't necessarily wrong. I changed the way that I looked at things. I went through a lot more bigger changes. Ooh, many bigger changes that gave me a different perspective than what I had when I started. That look back, that recognition is part of what we want to acknowledge and develop as part of our practice. That sense that, no, I don't know everything. I do know a few things. And I can talk about the underlying principles so that it's not just me that says, oh, Terry said you got to do this way. No. You can, I did, I may have said that, but I'm also going to say why it needs to be this way. Okay. I am a little more active this morning. I'm feeling a little more physical this morning, so I've got my feet a little bit wider than I normally stand. Yeah, a little bit wider. And I have a sense of I'm looking forward to doing some editing today, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So I have a sense of purpose, something future to pay attention to. And as I'm paying attention to those two things, my level of energy is pretty good. And I have something I'm looking forward to that makes me happy. Yeah, it's work, but I like to work, so it's okay. That perspective, when I look out at the day and I say, "Wow, I feel pretty good, and I've got something to go do." My back hurts, and I'm not feeling all that great. My stomach's upset. Yeah, and I'm still tired, and I don't have anything to do today, and I'm just going to go back to bed. Right? Perspective is very different. We need to recognize that. My perspective depends on my experience, what I've studied, what I've learned. Your perspective depends on your experience and what you've studied and what you've learned. Some things you haven't met. I had no idea there were so many kinds of rice. I hadn't met that. I learned it. I was open to learning it. I was in China, so yeah. So there was that. That idea, that perspective, that curiosity. I'm not going to talk about curiosity. I'm talking about perspective right now. And we're going to practice cloud hands in just a minute. That idea. This is perspective. We're going to talk about that. Curiosity is another thing. We're going to talk about that. This is something else. How we distinguish things is something else. These are all invisible. It's not a physical thing. You can't see it. You can see the result of some of what I'm talking about, particularly with the physical understanding of the physical body and how we should move. You can see some of that. Beyond that, you can't watch me circulate my chi. Not really. You can be sensitive to it. You can acknowledge that it probably exists, that could exist. Well, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But you can't see it the same way you can see me move my arm up and down. And my arm's moving up and down. You can see that, right? Okay? You can't see me circulating my chi. I'm actively working to move the chi up my back and down the front and focus. I'm very focused on that right now. You can't see it. Can't. You might know it. And that idea, perspective, what you know, what you bring to the art, what you're open to learning, gives you perspective on whatever it is you're looking at, whatever it is you're doing. In cloud hands, and we're going to use this one from Wudang Tai Chi. We have the 4 cardinal directions, 4 basic applications: ward off, pull down, press, and push. Ward off, pull down, press, and push. Right? Each time, and we're going to do this with both hands. Huh? All right. This is the advanced class, right? It is. Ward off. Palm. Pull down. Liu. Press. Qi. Push. An. Palm. Liu. Qi. An. Palm. Liu. Qi. An. This connection through. And keep your elbow down. Don't do this. If you're going across this way, yes. If you're going this way, no. Right? Yang style. Cloud hands. Notice my upper arm. Nice and even, right? Just below the shoulders. Well aligned with the chest. The lower hand is doing something else. All right, this is Yang style, Wudang style. Notice my arms. Right? Notice where I'm staying. I stay in this frame, not this one. What should I be doing? Well, I should be doing both. Am I practicing Yang style? Okay, and do it this way. Am I practicing Wudang style? Well, and do it this way. I'm practicing Chen style. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Right? That distinction. Which style is my perspective? Being able to make that distinction gives me a perspective that I did not have when I very first started. And I looked at somebody doing something a little bit different and said, well, that's not Tai Chi. That's not what I'm learning. That can't be right. It was. It just, they weren't doing anything wrong. It was me. Because I didn't know. I didn't know. So my perspective was about that big. Couldn't see very much. The more that I realized how much I didn't know, the more that I developed skills and learned, the more open I became to authentic differences, and the better I became at distinguishing, oh, no, that's, no, I don't know what that is, but yeah, oh, yeah, that was pretty, thanks. Okay, I have no idea. Versus, I don't know your teacher, but I know your teacher's teacher, and what you're doing looks like what your teacher's teacher did. That's compliment. That's a very good compliment. This one over here, I don't know. Sure. It's the mini-shaped widget form. There's a lot of that. That's one of the reasons that I'm teaching these sessions. It's not all about this movement or that movement. It's about understanding what you're doing in the system. Why do we do this? Yang style Tai Chi, cloud hands. Why am I using this position? Why am I using this pattern? Right? Why am I? Let's do it. Nice horse stance. Turn to the left, right hand up, left hand down. Right hand comes across, turn. Turn through the waist, turn through the feet, turn through the knees, turn through the hips. Everything moves nice and even. Arms come across just below the shoulders. Hands turn over. Ward off, pull down, press and push. Ward off, pull down, press and push. Still there. Those applications are there. The way they're done is slightly different. Sink a little bit more. Keep going. Timing matters. How you pull across depends on your returning leg. So left leg, right leg. All right. Relax. Wudang style. Much more vertical. Here's the circle. Feet about shoulder width apart. Not too wide, not too narrow. Turn to the left. Right hand up. And turn. Twist as you turn. Ward up, pull down, press and push. Turn through the waist. Turn through the shoulders. Turn through the legs, turn through the feet. Spiral. Turns up and down through the center. Keep going. Don't lean. Well balanced and well placed. And stop. Each time we move, the movement should be well coordinated and well placed so that it is in harmony with the body and it is in harmony with itself. If I'm going to keep going for a second. This is wrong, don't do it. No. Harmony. What should I be doing? Right? This waved hand thing. I exaggerate that but it is in fact something that we see. It's not a connected move. It's not a necessarily purposeful move, although the person might have some purpose behind it. They're thinking some purpose to do, I'm going to do something, and that's why I'm doing this thing. It misses the connection through the body. So if I'm just waving my hand out here, there's no whole body connection. And it misses the connections that will give us the perspective on what we're doing. So that the waving hand thing is, what am I doing? Why am I waving my hand like this? What's the point? You might try and grab my hand. I might be shaking energy. Shaking the tail feathers in Wudang Qigong. There's a little bit of movement there, right? That sense of using the movement versus I'm just doing something. In dance, movement has purpose, but it doesn't have application. If I'm dancing and I open, that opening has purpose. It has meaning in the story, whatever it is. I'm in the back row of the chorus, right? It has purpose. It's lively, but it's not this, which is ward off to both sides. That Pong. Different intent, different focus, different level of energy, different use of the body, different use of force. All of those things combine in looking at whatever we're doing. The perspective that we bring, our background, current understanding, level of openness to things we don't know. That's not accepting everything that anybody says. Absolutely not. I'm going to talk a little bit more about being critical in another class. But that being open, say, yeah, okay, I don't know, but sure, I might look at it later, I might not. I attended a bar, I heard a lot of stories. There's that perspective. Okay, I don't know what you're telling me is true or not, but I'll listen. And then being able to take my existing knowledge, evaluate that, and decide whether or not I'm going to accept it, pursue it. What am I going to do? Do I need to do anything? Maybe not. I don't know. That perspective. Chinese noodles, Italian noodles. Knowing the difference, being able to clearly distinguish, and then being very I'm 平安与徐富 这个意思是平安 is peaceful, quiet. 舒服 comfortable. You want both of those qualities so that as you're practicing, now you begin to see more clearly that idea of letting go of appearances, being able to see what's truly there, being able to see the reality of what's there, being able to see what's actually there. I did that with my clothes. I'm going to put on the competition uniform one of these days. I was going to do it today, but I didn't. What am I wearing? Does it inspire you with, oh, she must be your really elevated grandmaster something or other? No, I didn't. I didn't want to do that. I could. I could bring a chair out here and I could sit in the chair and I could talk about things. I could. I don't. It's not something that I'm going to do. I might. There's a time for it, but that perspective that no, this is the way that I think I'm going to teach versus that's the way somebody else teaches. I want anybody that comes to my class to be able to do whatever it is that we're learning in class. I just come back to class next week, sure, but I want you to be able to do it. It's not, that's the point of learning, right? That's what I'm talking about with the perspective. Learning what you don't already know, learning more than you thought you knew. So it's not here, it's here. And being open, not to dribble and, oh my gosh, what was that? But being open to new knowledge, being open to examining what it is you're learning, testing it. Are there any principles that I should apply? What goes on behind this? Why do I do things this way? Yang style Tai Chi. Why do I do this? Why don't I do something else? Why isn't it like Wu style Tai Chi with a very small circle right here? Why? Because those are the characteristics of the form. If I know that, these are the characteristics of this form, these are the characteristics of this form. Anybody that does a form and they tell me it's Yang style Tai Chi, I have certain expectations. You tell me you're doing Wu style Tai Chi and it looks like Yang style Tai Chi, I'm going to question it. That doesn't look like Wu style Tai Chi to me. That doesn't look like Italian noodles to me. That perspective, being able to tell the difference, being able to distinguish, and then having the skill and the openness to look for what belongs, what doesn't belong, what are the principles behind this, how should we practice. Follow the principles. Don't follow me, follow the principles in the form. I'm a pretty good model, but if you're practicing on your own, which is a big part of what I did in all my years of practice, how can you know? How can you know? Is this right? Is this not right? What are the principles of the form? What are the fundamental movement principles? What should we be paying attention to when we're moving? Right? Tai Chi. Set the heel, roll through, turn back, turn 45, step through. Right? Bagua, slide the foot. Bend the ankle. Keep the hip. Open the legs. Xing Yi. Set and go. These principles, Shaolin's got its own too. These principles are what I apply in all of my practice so that I know, okay, this is Xingyi, this is correct for Xingyi. I know it because here's the principles, here's what I'm supposed to be doing. If I didn't pay attention to the principles, if I only paid attention to what I was doing in class and following the teacher, I would never have gotten the level of knowledge and understanding that I have now. I had to practice. That practice gave me insights, not talking about those right now, and perspective, a way of seeing things, another way of seeing things that I didn't have. This idea, how we see things, what we see, what we pay attention to, all of this has bearing on everything that we do and on our own internal practice. So you're practicing in front of a mirror. What do you see? Were you supposed to be standing still and you're still moving? Were you supposed to be moving and your movement's a little bit off? How do you know that? Because you know that your movement should be well coordinated. You know that when one part moves, all parts move. When one part is still, all parts are still. That combination of movement and stillness works together. Knowing when Xingyi, Santibo, I know the position. I know where I should hit. I hit it. I'm not moving. Being still. Settling into the stance. Connecting the breath. Focusing on the lower dantian. Paying attention to the internal circulation. Excuse me. Paying attention to all 3 points. Up, down, out. That skill, that ability, being able to do it, comes through practice, right? What should I do? How should I do that movement? What am I supposed to be doing here? I had to learn that. I didn't know. Once I learned it, once I understood the principles behind, I could look at someone else practicing. Didn't matter if it was somebody from my classes, from my teacher's school, from my school, it didn't matter. I could look at someone else practicing and say, maybe, or, yeah, that person's pretty good. Being able to do that comes from all sorts of things. Understanding what we should be doing, recognizing and having the experience, having the exposure, so that you know that that's not rice. Yes, it is. That can't be rice. Yeah, it is. It's all rice. Oh, having that experience, having that understanding, having that knowledge gives us a perspective. Each of us has our own. Everybody's is different. When we look at whatever it is we're doing, applying the principles that belong with that art are what we want to focus on. That's our perspective. Thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate it. I will see you again next week. Bye.